Boys and girls, good morning. We are back. Day 2, hanging out with Papagayo Surfari. They're in the back of the truck heading to the beach right now. We have an insane menu going on today. We're gonna be doing some, I don't even know what to call it. I don't even know, that thruster thing through the water where you're swimming and it's pulling you. We're gonna be doing some novelty surfing. We got the biggest swell for the next week. So hopefully we're gonna be scoring Witch's Rock at its prime conditions. We got all the boys. We're gonna be doing some diving. We're gonna be doing some fishing. He's claiming lobsters. And before we jump into this video, what you guys saw in the beginning, I have to just give the most amazing gratitude and stoke for my brother being back in the water, in a bay, not much ocean activity going on, but paddling. You guys have been watching since January or February of this year. My brother had an unfortunate incident and he got surgery from an AC separation, and he has been on the road to recovery, crushing it so hard. And I am just so frothed out of my mind right now to have seen that video while I'm riding in the back of the truck this morning that my brother sent me of him back on a surfboard paddling. So go show D-Dub some love, send him the gratitude, send him the good, positive, loving energy, and stoke him out. We're gonna be having the sickest day ever here. Love to start it off with some positivity like that. Huge shout out to Papagayo Surfari for having us. Stoke levels are peaking. Let's do this. Woo! Ego! Pura vida!
Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to break down and explain to you is by far the most insane and scary experience I have ever witnessed in my surfing career. And I have this channel where I can spread info to you guys, not only sometimes some surf tips or where to stay or how to travel and that type of thing, but now I'm hoping that this will bring some education to how serious surfing is and how gnarly what we do every single day is, and hopefully share some tips that I discovered in the past few days since this experience happened that can maybe help you guys either save yourself or save somebody else if you're ever in a similar situation. So if you're not good at hearing about graphic things, there's not much that I'm going to show that's graphic, and when I do show what it is, I will let you guys know ahead of time, but this is going to break down one of the most serious things that I've ever been through. And it all started with the owner, Gary, came out to surf with us, and on one of his final waves, something happened that we're not exactly sure of, but I believe it's very common that he went under with his nose of his longboard first, fell forwards, and then because it's such shallow water, the nose digging in causes a bounce effect of your board to flip up and out of the water, and his fins on the top must have flipped over and came down, and the board is super heavy, and it hit him in his head and gouged his head open so hardcore that he was basically screaming bloody murder on the inside and holding a piece of his head back on. And we have never been through anything like this in our lives. Me, Brent, T-Cap, and Verde, we travel together all the time. I've been on so many surf missions in remote areas where there's absolutely no help, and when you're surfing Witch's Rock, it's a 40-minute boat ride all the way out there. So not only is it difficult to have access for help, but you're not heading straight in from the beach when something like this happens. You actually have to get out past a super punchy beach break, and Gary was almost fainting. Thankfully, Brent had caught a wave recently all the way over to him, and without hesitation, me, Verde, Brent, and T-Cap all started savagely paddling because he was pretty far away towards where Gary was, yelling and holding his head. Within a split second, I thought, I need to get access to the boat and get that anchor pulled and give notice to the captain so that he can get over to us as quickly as possible. So I screamed at the top of my lungs, "You guys go inside and help Gary. I'm going to the boat." And I started paddling over to the boat. Since this has happened, I've been 31 years and I have not been able to do this. And it was such a frightening and gnarly experience that within the past 48 hours, I've watched so many YouTube videos on how to whistle that I literally just learned this. And that's gonna obviously get better, but that is seriously showing how gnarly and how traumatic this experience was. So I paddled as fast as I could back to the boat. And while I was on my way, I was yelling to Ariel to pull the anchor, and he saw that something was really gnarly. He pulled the anchor, he sped over to me, and in the meantime, Brent was so close to Gary that within this tiny fraction of a moment, he was able to help him get on his board where he was almost unconscious. But he approached the situation, I have to say first, with subtle, calm, collected energy. He allowed Gary to get on his board, and he helped push and paddle him over this one cresting wave that kind of broke through and on them. And he got so fortunate that that was the last wave of the set. And at that time, T-Cap and Verde and Brent had all got Gary on his board and were helping push him back. And while that was happening, Ariel and I had driven the boat over as fast as we possibly could. I jumped off the boat as soon as they got close so that I could help. Brent got on the boat because he's the strongest, and he pulled Gary up. Literally unbelievable amount of strength that I've seen on this man. If there's anybody that you want near you in a situation like this, it is Brent Nesta, and I just cannot explain how we did it. Our group separately is all pretty on point, but with no discussion, having never been in a situation like this before, the way that we split up perfectly and did exactly what we needed to do with the amount of time that we had to get Gary back on the boat was honestly astounding. And there was a fraction of a moment where we were contemplating, what do we do about Niso? He has no idea what's going on. He's on the beach. He has nothing. And we're about to dip out as fast as we can over a 45-minute period where if the boats leave, Niso's gonna be stranded in the middle of nowhere with nothing. So as soon as we could, we sped over to one of the boats that we've seen. There was only a few there that day, and I just dove off this boat. The captains made an exchange of pretty much telling them to bring me back because I have to get Niso, and before we could even think about it, they turned around, peeled out, and the boys were off. You can see Brent is holding Gary's head back together, and by the time we got him to the boat, he had actually been pale white and was 90% unconscious. So when we put him on the boat, it was a scary thing. I needed to make sure that Niso was going to be okay, and 3 of the boys took off, and it was the gnarliest 30 to 40 minute ride, they said, of their entire lives, of making sure that his pulse was there, checking, make sure that they had pressure on his head consistently while trying to speed as quick as they can with no service to make phone calls. And I just really want to stress in this video how important it is when you are surfing, no matter what kind of board you're on, no matter how good you are. One of the biggest tips that I could have for anybody is when you fall over the falls, whichever way you possibly could fall, stay under the water a little bit longer than you think. And if there's any sign of your board maybe being in the air, just give yourself a protective cover of anything and just rest under the water until everything submerges and it goes back to calm with your head there, and try to find your leash in that meantime before you come up. If you can touch the leash part that touches your ankle and just get it taut and then pull yourself up, even when you're on the bottom and you're afraid because you're running out of air and your feet finally touch the ground, that boost straight up, if your board is above your head with your fins there, can absolutely destroy you. So just, you have to be super cautious and super careful. And I'll drop some links also in this video description of safety videos. I want to put out some other ones, but this was just such a frightening experience, and to be able to share with you guys the importance of maybe getting together with a group of your friends and learning maybe some CPR lessons or doing a trial run. I've found other videos that I will link where if somebody's unconscious, there's super helpful tips. Flipping your board over, grabbing the person, making sure that they're floating on their stomach, taking their hands, putting their hands over the board, and then pulling the board to flip it, and it puts them back on their stomach. Then you can pivot them on their board and help them get pushed out, or most situations in. This one was really extreme because having to get out past a break onto a boat in a remote area is so frightening. And when the person is lifeless, if you don't have Brent Nestor with you or somebody who's an absolute marine beast of a war animal, then you're going to be in a gnarly situation. So I hope that this video has some tips for you guys to potentially get you stoked and motivated to learn how to whistle, to look up some videos on health and safety, to look up some videos on how to be cautious in the water and how to take care of somebody. Because if you learn the things that you can apply on somebody else to help save their life, then you can teach your friends that, and those are going to be the people that you're with when if something happens to you. Even if you've been surfing for 40 years and you know what's going on, there are freak accidents that happen. You teach your boys and they're going to be the ones that help you. It's the same thing as backcountry snowboarding and avalanche risks, and it's just insane how many days we go and we surf and we don't even think about how gnarly what we do is. So I am so grateful. I'm going to show obviously some videos right now or some clips. If you don't want to see it, warning on the screen, these are super graphic gnarly images, but this is Gary's fin at the house, broken, literally going inside of his skull and snapping off. And you can still see the pieces of hair and almost like skin in it. And then this photo right here is a photo of him on the boat when he was unconscious, basically pale white, scary as all hell. And then another photo of the stitches. He ended up getting like over 20 stitches, and he is to this day completely good. It was shocking when we saw him later on in the evening and he was stoking out of his mind, and it was just like, I don't know, I can't really explain the feeling that we got through, but I'm glad that this happened, not only so that I can have some real awareness of how gnarly what we do every day is, but also now having a little bit of training. I'm super excited when I get back home to go through some CPR training classes and to do as many water things that I can to teach myself, and hopefully to teach you guys a lot of things that we can do behavioral wise and surf wise, progression wise, but also help wise, of making sure that if anything like this ever goes down, we know what to do in those scenarios. So this was a gnarly one, and now it's just me and Niso literally at Witch's Rock with no phone, no service, no sunscreen. I didn't put a shirt on. We had absolutely no food, no water, and I basically had to paddle back over to in front of Niso, go let him know what was going on, and he was clueless. And we had like 3 or 4 more hours of really gnarly offshore winds and this weird energy of me surfing by myself, all types of cautious while still trying to send it. And huge shout out to the other boat that ended up bringing me and Niso back. They stuck around for like 4 hours and surfed and then made sure that we got home safe. But so many things in the description, and please, if you guys want to join the Discord for surfing, I have that link in the description as well, where you guys can share info. There's a surfing section, drop some comments, interact with each other, and just be careful and be cautious when you're out there surfing. Make sure if you're the last one out and there's somebody out after you, that you just keep an eye on them. Surfing at night is gnarly, and we're going to definitely try to do some more tips here to help people stay safe and just to share some info on what we can do in gnarly situations. So hope you guys enjoy the rest of this video. Surfing Witch's Rock, literally just me and Niso Hollywood out here for the dream.